And welcome back to the ANH podcast. In today's guest, we have communist killer slash Princhunter, the owner of HOH.
Hello.
And today we're just going to ask you like a couple questions, or a lot of questions actually about the game and stuff like that. How you're feeling? We sent you the list,
Sure.
so I'm gonna
Yeah,
start
sure.
off
Ask away.
here. What inspired you to create this game?
Originally, I owned a First Infantry Division milsim, and naturally, we would fluctuate between Vietnam and World War II. So eventually, we went to go retire, both Spiso and I, and we're decided to make the game public, and people like the game. So we decided to turn it into a community, and the rest is history.
Hmm, interesting. How long did development take for like the first run of Fields of Normandy?
Uh, Well, we used old assets that we had already made from previous games for the First Infantry Division, so we didn't have to remake the weapons or anything. So I'd say probably about a month to make the initial map, and then there was different iterations, right? Because we had the First Infantry Division iteration, and then we made ones with the new tank system, and we updated it for the public. That probably took another couple weeks, so I'd say around 2 months probably to go public for
I had a
everyone.
question.
Damn.
Was
What?
the early tank system solo crew? Because I did remember you showed me a couple of videos of
Yeah, the original tank system, I was
Wolfenchen.
modifying Wolfenchen myself. Yeah, I
Yeah,
added a suspension, I added different ammo types, armor ricochet, stuff like that. So it was, but obviously it's a very old system. So
yeah.
What was the original concept for the game?
again, it was just going to be it was a milsim game. So we even had like AI in it, and it was just supposed to be, as the name implies, Fields of Normandy. And it was for the First Infantry Division to be
Hmm.
post D-Day, and they would push through the AI through the map, and we would do like operations like that.
Oh, it was meant to be like an operations AI type game. Like,
Yeah,
it's cool.
yeah.
What makes your game unique compared to similar games like DOI and some other World War II games?
I would say the scale. I mean, DOI is capped at what, 50 players? Ours is 100. They have much more linear maps, like the Call of Duty Invisible Walls, where we take more of like a battlefield approach where you
Uh-huh.
have like an open map. Um, Other than that, I mean, there's not that much different that you can do for World War II games. I would say the other differences would be graphics. We tend to have better graphics, better tank systems, things like that, but it becomes more minor the more things you add. We have a bayonet system. I don't think any of the other games have a bayonet system. Uh,
Yeah, not from what
we
I've
have the
seen.
revive system. I don't think any of the other games have a revive system. Our deployment system through the menu, though I think what's the other game called? Warfronts. Warfronts
Yeah.
has similar to that, but DOI doesn't have that. So it depends. We have some things similar with certain games, some things not.
Hmm. And I'm gonna let Sherman get in your batch questions.
Moving on to development process. What was the biggest challenge during development during like HOH or like the first infantry for the map?
Um, It depends, right? Because as you do more development, you learn more skills. So I am completely self-taught when it comes to coding. Other than I guess if you include YouTube videos as my teachers, right? So the initial coding to get things to work was very difficult for me, but the more I did it, the easier it became. So I don't it's not proportional, if that makes sense, right? So initially, like a basic script, like a spawning script, would be difficult for me, but by the end of it, I was able to completely rework the multi-crew system to make it work because the versions that we got didn't even work. I had to make it work myself. So I would say that was still probably the most difficult because that was a balance of a large project while also still not being the best at coding. So I would go with that. Probably making the tank system functional.
What like current feature took the longest to create? I'm guessing it was a tank system. I think.
current feature,
Yeah,
as in like something I did recently, or just something that's in the game now?
something that's in the game now.
Yeah, probably still the tank system, especially because we
Yeah,
reworked either that or the planes. I mean, I tried to do the planes. I tried to use Roblox physics. That had all kinds of issues. They would glitch out because you had to have like the weight perfectly centered. I tried to do like a mix of Roblox physics along with C-frame and positional things like that, and that wouldn't work because they would fight each other. So I'm using right now the current version is I basically took an old version which is using C-frame, which is basically the positional numbers of the plane, right? So when I say physics, I mean you would use like velocity, right? For C
yeah.
frame, it means you're using the positional numbers like a grid, and you tween between that to get the next position of the plane. So it just took me like a bunch of tries to get a functional version that was fun. So I would say the plane system probably.
Were there any ideas that had to be cut from the game or like scrapped?
Yes and no. The reason I say that is because there were things that we scrapped and then brought back, right? So, like the revive system, we always wanted to have a revive system in the game, but the first two attempts that we added, the first one, there became a bug that was causing a lot of lag. It was a memory leak. So
Oh,
the old players weren't being cleared, and that's why some of the older players will remember that when the server would get too big, it would start lagging really bad at like
yeah.
30 players. So we deleted that, had to completely rework it. We hired another scripter because this was still when I wasn't that
Oh,
great at scripting. So we hired another scripter to do it again. So that was our second attempt at doing a revive system. His worked better, I would say, but it also still had lag issues. It just wasn't working well with the ragdoll system and all that. And then we added it again, right, with the current version where there's no lag issues. It works pretty much every time. I think it's more intuitive for the players. It's overall just much better. So that's like an example of something we scrapped and then added back later. Any things that we haven't been able to add, I mean, beach invasions. We initially wanted to do that. We had some problems with that, but they're all in the game now, right? So there hasn't really been much that we haven't been able to add. It was always just temporary.
Yeah. I don't know if you're gonna say, certain stuff, but what game engine or tools did you use at first? Like,
I mean, Roblox itself is the engine, right? You script with Lua, um, and Blender. Learned how to make 3D models in Blender. It's how I made some of the houses, the bunkers, stuff like that.
and my last question for this section of development. What part of development are you most proud of? Planes, tank systems, or just general like the weapon systems of ACS, etc.
Um, I feel like I would probably that's hard because it's like each thing on its own isn't that big. It's how it comes together as an entire game, right? Because I mean, I do basically all the coding in the game myself. So I mean, I made the deployment system. I didn't make the entire objective system because we hired a scripter for that, but I had to edit it when I added the other game modes and stuff. I made the tank system functional, and then I reworked it to have like the angle penetration and all that, the different shell types to actually function as they're supposed to. I made the plane system. I completely reworked ACS. I mean, as you've played now, you wouldn't even know that it's ACS really.
Yeah,
Added the bayonet system to it, rifle grenades, movement systems, different ballistics, all that, right? So that I completely stripped that out. Like, so each thing on its own is its own, it's its own thing, right? But then it builds together into the whole game. So I guess it's kind of cliche to say, but I would say I'm most proud of the entire game of together.
I have a question for the newer updates recently for the UI and squads. Where did you influence that? I'm guessing Hello Loose or
Yeah, a mix of things. So the general layout, I would say, was similar to Hell Let Loose, but then I really like Battlefield 1, still play it to this day. So like I took some of the cinematic ideas from that, right? So we like saw how the player would spawn in and felt like it threw you into the battlefield. So I took inspiration from that. And if you notice when you spawn in, that's where you get that like whoosh sound and your camera sway. The end of round system again, similar to Battlefield. So we take it from different games that we played in our childhood, and we whatever we liked from that, we try and implement it into the game to create a mix of immersion.
All right, moving on to Dead Boy section again.
And yeah, I'm gonna be talking about team and leadership. How do you manage your development team? I know you really only work with like Spiso, but I'm also gonna turn into like a secondary question. Like, has there been anybody other than like people you've hired for like mini jobs on a team? Have you ever had like a big team, or maybe just like a smaller team?
No, always a small team. For I would say 90% of the development cycle, it's just been Spiso and I. We hired some scripters here and there, but honestly, most of the time they didn't work out. They either would agree to it and then were unable to complete the task. The infamous one being the server browser. Nobody that we hired from everywhere. Tried hiring cheap ones, expensive ones, from reputable places. It did not matter. None of them could complete the server browser. We would just cycle through them, through the scripters. They would just give up. We had the Russian guy who helped make the customization system, but again, he started doing less and less work, and then he just gave up. He couldn't complete it the way that he wanted to, and that he advertised he would. So we had to get rid of him. Right now, Hello Yellow is helping. He's working on the Eastern Front, so that would be our third developer for like the first time ever. Because they, like I said, the other scripters were just temporary hires. We would hire them to do a single job. We had one guy, I can't remember his name. I should credit him. He was the one who made the objective system. He helped me with a couple things. He made the base of the revive system, so he was a good scripter. So he was the only one I would say also was there for an extended period of time. But again, even that was only like a month and a half maybe, and it was per job basis. He didn't work on anything but the scripts that we asked for.
Interesting. How do you handle disagreements within your staff or your dev team?
Uh, Quite frankly, there's really not too many disagreements with the dev team. Spicer and I tend to always be on the same page. And we tend to give each other creative liberties, right? So like I worked on Peleliu. Peleliu was my map. I did 95% of the work on it, right? So if I want something in that, Spicer's not going to say anything. Same thing with the new province map. He did 95% of it. I basically only did the axis spawn. So anything that he wants in that, I'll back him up. He can do his own thing. There's some minor disagreements sometimes with like the direction we want to go, maybe in terms of like, hey, do we want to do something more realistic or do we want to do something more arcade? But generally, we just talk and we've been good friends for years, so we get along great. With the staff though, I take a different approach. I generally try and trust my staff, right? Like that's why we hired them. So
Yeah.
when it comes to admins, for example, hands off approach. You guys are the admins are in charge of administration. That is their job. Why am I going to tell them what to do? If it comes to something extreme, I'll give them my input. I'll tell them what I'm thinking. But at the end of the day, I don't like to override them. What's the point of hiring them if I'm just going to do the job myself? I let them do what they think is right.
Mhm. What advice would you give to aspiring game developers who want to create games like this, even if it wasn't related to World War II, if they want to make like some anime fighting game? What kind of advice would you tell them?
Um, I would probably say just don't give up, which I know is like cliche, but a lot of the times it'll be really hard. Like I said with the plane system, right? How many times did I have to do the plane system? Probably at least 3 times before I got it on the fourth attempt. Or you'll still have bugs. Like we have a much more polished version of the game, but every day someone will DM me and say that they found a new bug, right? So it can get a little frustrating sometimes, and you just gotta put your head down and keep going. It gets better. Like anyone who played the original version of HOH knows that the current version is
Yeah.
a lot more polished, has a lot more things, not as laggy,
I
like all that,
remember
right? So what was that?
I remember like when back then, like December or like January of 2024, and like early 25, the game used to be packed, and but there were those certain lag switches that just happened to a lot of players. We just made them disconnect. I
Yeah, exactly, right? When you pass the player threshold, you had that. Like we don't have that issue anymore. We had that one
Yeah,
raid a little while ago. We had like what 50 people or whatever. I think it was a little more at its peak, right? And there was, I mean, some people had lag here and there, but generally most people had decent to good frames and decent to good ping, right? I personally on a Mac from 6 years ago, like a 2020 Mac or whatever, I had 9 out of 10 graphics and like 80 ping the whole time. Like, so it's obviously it's miles better, but that took a lot of work, a lot of debugging, which is a pain, right? Like you're in the game, you're watching all the stats, looking at the error logs, you're trying to figure out what's causing it. And sometimes you have absolutely no idea and it can take forever. You just have to do process some of elimination. You'll start disabling scripts and see if it fixes it or not. And it can be a pain. So, like I said, it's cliche, but frankly, just don't give up. Like it's going to take a lot of work if you want it to be a good game.
And I'm gonna pass the next section on Sherman again. Should be community and players.
yeah. Um, how important is community feedback to you? Because I see how you interact with a lot of people in the community. As you said, like bugs and stuff. Like, has that helped you over the time to improve your game?
Yeah, I have a mixed opinion on it, right? So generally, I would say I try to do what the players want. First off, they're my players, right? So if I don't do what they want, why would they play the game, right? At the end of the day, I'm trying to make a good experience for them. Um, the issue comes you have people who want disagreeing things, right? So some people want to go in a more realistic direction while other people want to go in a more arcade direction, right? So like we added a new movement system for the sprinting where it creates acceleration. You can't just go from a walking speed to sprinting speed instantly. It takes a couple steps for your character to accelerate to full speed. Or if you're going uphill, it's harder to go the same speed as it is going downhill, things like that, right? And some people told me that they love it. They told me, "Oh yeah, it slows the game down. It feels much more realistic. I'm not getting like it doesn't feel like exo movement and stuff from Call of Duty." And then other people are like, "Why can't I run? Like why do I feel so slow? I feel so clunky, right?" So you have differing opinions on basically everything we add. Same thing with when we added day night a while ago. People always wanted day night. We added it, and then some people are like, "I love it. It's dark and it makes me feel like it's a realistic environment." And other people are like, "I can't see shit." So it's like you have to balance it between which part do you agree with, right? What part of the community do you agree with?
Yeah, I agree. Uh, what has been the most memorable player reaction?
Memorable player, yeah, that's difficult. Um, yeah, especially now. I mean, the game's been up for 2 years, give or take. So I've met a lot of players. I couldn't give you a specific name, but I remember when we first released the game, there wasn't much like it on the market. Now I feel like there's more World War II games. World War II started to come back, but there hadn't been like a large scale World War II game in a while. The closest one was DOI, and like we talked about, that's a much more linear Call of Duty-esque, which has its own fun, right? You have much more, I would say, like action in a composed area. But the open, larger scale was very rare, in my opinion, at least at the quality we did it for World War II at the time. And I remember when people initially joined the game, they were all like, "Wow, like this map looks great. The game, it's so much fun," and that was part of when we exploded in the beginning. So I would say that was the most memorable part, was just seeing how many people loved our game.
Yeah, I agree as well. Is there any future suggestions from players that want in the game? If you want to tell, maybe I don't know, but
Yeah, I mean, we're working on adding upgrades to the tank system in terms of both the armor values, right? We're going to make better hit detection, going to fix some of the bugs it has. And then also, we were looking into doing a new type of tank deployment where instead of having to only spawn it all the way at the back base, right, the spawn bases, using a glowing neon button which doesn't blend in with the map, right? We were thinking about doing it through the deployment screen. So, like, for example, if you're a tanker and you have the tanker class, when you hit deploy, it'll give you the option if there's a tank spot available, because it'll still be limited to about 3 or 4 per team, depending on the map. It'll give them an option and be like, "Hey, do you wanna spawn with the tank?" And then it'll if they say yes, it'll give them, like, the options of tanks they can spawn, and it'll spawn them at whichever objective they pick or 1 back, right? So, like, if you're on the attackers team and you own C, you can spawn at B, A, or the original allied spawn, for example. So you can't spawn it right on the front lines, that'd be too overpowered, but it makes it so that, like, if the allies push all the way to F, it can be quite boring to have to drive from allied spawn all the way to F, so that's one
To
of
be
the bigger
honest,
additions coming.
I have mixed reactions. It makes it like, oh, it gives the attacking or defending team time to reevaluate. Oh, they just killed the enemy armor. It can take a few minutes to come back. But I think, personally, it's a great idea.
Yeah, that's why we figured. I mean, we can tinker with it. Maybe it would be 2 objectives back, but that's why it was gonna be like, if you own C, that means you're attacking D, and you can't spawn it, at C, you have to spawn it at B, right? So you'd have to drive from B to D to attack again. So it shouldn't be like instant, right? I mean, if in the context of everyone's favorite map, Fields of Normandy, right? You would spawn if you were attacking D, you would spawn by the flak gun, and you would have to drive down the hill, through the town, across the bridge, through the next part of the town to get to the objective that your team is currently attacking. So it should still give a break in theory. Like I said, we can test it, and we can always make changes to it, but in theory, it should give that a decent amount of time, right? And then remember, their team can also spawn tanks, so again, it should be balanced. It's not like only the allies can spawn while the Axis still have to spawn all the way at their home spawn. So it should be balanced.
Yeah. Finally, what is your favorite thing about the games community? Is it like, people interacting, people having fun, and the faction war and all that? Yeah, what's your favorite thing about the, as I said, games community?
My favorite would be, I would say, like, the loyalty of the core players, right? So, the game has gone through multiple cycles where we exploded, and then we died, and then we came back for a bit, and then we died again, and we're trying to revive it again now, but the same, for the most part, core community has still been there, right? A lot of the players who played all the way back 2 years ago are still here, and I really appreciate that. I mean, they're the ones that I do the development for. Without them, I would have just stopped developing a while ago. So it's nice to see that some people like still enjoy the game that much and still want to play it, and they're still
Yeah,
trying to help me revive it and all that.
I agree. How HOH, when I joined, when I was in 1ID, like around December of 2024, obviously see a major change in systems and development. But other games like Day of Infamy, how I played, it used to be good, but now, like, with all this new tech, to be honest, it just made the game bland to me. Like, I just never enjoyed it. But like HOH always had that feeling of, oh, it has that, I don't know how to describe it. It has that vibe when you play it. It is bland, boring vibe.
Yeah, I mean, I appreciate it, and that's why we do the development, right? For guys like you, the core audience, the people who have stuck with us. We're trying to make the game better for you guys, so that hopefully, if we revive again, you guys will have the game that you enjoy.
Yeah. Moving on to Dino Boy for success in business.
Ooh, success in business. No, I don't really like the section, so I might just skip it. I want to go into design and gameplay. Like, what is your personal favorite feature in the game? It could have been like fun to develop or something like that.
Is it cliche to say like most of it? I feel like pretty much everything in the game I find pretty enjoyable, right? If I didn't find something enjoyable, I probably would delete it or fix it. Um, Personally, recently, I mean, I love playing as a medic except for when people skip the revive. But other than that, it's always fun, right? Like you're getting shot at, you see your buddy's down, it has like the little cross above his head, and you're running through, jumping from cover to try and revive him. It's like a mini challenge for every revive, right? Um, the mortar system's a lot of fun, especially when you learn. Like I've used enough where I feel like I can kind of guess the general range of the shell now. Like I don't even have to zero it in. It's kind of just like I'll get it on the first like two shells, so it's always fun to watch. And then you'll see like the bodies fly in the air when you hit. So that's fun. I mean, tanking has been fun since day one. Changed a bit from time to time, but it's always been fun. And then
I
honestly, good
agree.
old infantry. I like sneaking around because I typically play on trackpad, so it's a little hard for me to get like up in the thick of it. So I'll like try and sneak around and I'll snipe from range, and it's still fun. I'll like I'll support my team with some long range fire, and I'll just get some headshots. That's still fun to me.
Is there like I know like a couple people like redacted and stuff like that kept on asking me, is there are you willing to share like any upcoming sneak peeks that you haven't like told the masses about yet on this podcast?
Um, Honestly, we've told you guys pretty much everything. I mean, what our plans are, like I said, we're gonna rework some of the tanks, um, rework how they spawn. We have the new map province. We think we fixed the lag on that, so we're trying to add it this weekend. We're doing the spawns now to fix it up, and then it should be good to go. Hello Yellow's working on the eastern front, so I'll be helping him out on that. But you guys already know about that. Like I'm trying to think. I think we honestly have told you guys everything.
Mhm. What goals do you have for the game for the next year or maybe the next coming couple years if you do think you will make it that far?
I mean, first and foremost is going to be reviving it, right?
Yeah.
So we're in the process now where we basically reworked the entire game, and now we're trying to build the community back up. We've been recruiting new factions, scheduling faction battles. We plan on getting the activity up. That's what the mods are helping with the SSUs. We have some money we're gonna run. We're gonna use to run ads. The only thing is we're kind of getting messed up with Roblox right
Oh
now is because
yeah.
the game is locked to 16 plus. So but the only way to get past that right now is to get 500 individual active players per. I believe it's 2 months, not 1 month,
Oh.
if I read it correctly. So it's kind of like a catch 22 where you kind of need to get rid of that limit to be active, but you also need to be active to get rid of the limit. So it's kind of a pain right now. But that would be the goal, honestly, is just to get the game active because everything else falls into place from there. We're in a place development wise. I mean, we have what, 6 maps now? You have
I think like
Herkin,
7 or 8.
Iojima. Yeah, maybe, right? Herkin, Iojima, Peleliu, Omaha, Fields of Normandy, Bulge. Am I missing
Foy.
any? Well,
Also brings me another
we deleted
question.
Foy.
Oh, really?
Oh,
Are you
Did I say
planning?
Herkin? I
Yeah,
don't
you said
remember.
Hurricane. Are you planning to like fix Foy or just like change it around? Because I know it's pretty shit right now, but you guys only made it in, like what, a couple weeks, maybe even 1 week,
Nah,
from what I
we made
remember.
it in like 3 days.
Oh
3 days.
damn.
Because people wanted a quick like a small map. They were tired of playing the big maps, so it was like, all right, we'll throw some slop together. And I mean, honestly, I don't think it's like the worst map. I think it's the worst HOH map, but it's
Yeah.
still like playable.
Uh-huh.
But some of the collisions are Jesus Christ,
It's
man!
kind
Like
of
on the
too
trees and the
open.
trenches.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's no terrain variation other than like the river. Um, I don't know. We might remake it. I mean, to be fair, it is accurate, which is part of the issue. Because the real Foy is like completely flat, and Spiso used a real map, so like that where the houses are on the Foy map are where they were in real life.
Hmm.
They are that spread out, because it's literally just a tiny village. So it would be like if we remade it, it would have to have some creative liberties, right? So we'd probably add some trenches, some terrain variation, things like that. Maybe add some like things in the fields,
Mhm.
make give more cover. I don't know, but I feel like there's other maps we could do instead. I guess that's something you asked earlier about a sneak peek. I wouldn't
Yeah.
call it a sneak peek. We haven't even started it yet, but it's a concept was
Mm.
to do either Market Garden or Utah
Oh
because
yeah.
we want to bring
Airborne.
actual airborne. Um, and I mean, you saw the sneak peek from a while ago. We never implemented it, but I still have the code for it.
Mhm.
So we have like the of the flying through the flak, the planes, and so that, and then we also have the idea. Again, I can't call it a sneak peek because we haven't started it yet, but the idea of adding a few smaller maps,
Uh-huh.
kind of like think like Nuketown, like in Call of Duty, like
Oh
how they
yeah.
have like the normal size maps
Ooh,
and then they have the smaller one, and it's everyone's favorite. So it would be like a small part of a city, right? So maybe you do like downtown Aachen, or you do like
Oh
a
yeah.
town, a
a
specific town
cologne.
Cologne type
in
thing.
France or something. Yeah, Cologne, any of them, right?
Uh-huh.
Um, so that would allow for smaller. I mean, it would be crazy if there was 100 players, right? Which is the maximum server size. That would be like, it would be like so chaotic that I think it could still be fun, but then it would also still be good for lower player counts because the map's smaller and you don't feel like it's a running simulator. So we feel like it could be both, good for both demographics if you get large amount of players and small amount of players. So I guess that would be one.
You'll break one day when
On the
Rangers coming back. Like
one day,
get it out of the museum, bro.
on the topic of 100 players and full servers, what are your thoughts about Aaron Walk, where ANH, some of the other members, 1ID and stuff like that, we're gonna be fighting Aaron Walk in a 100-player battle coming up and maybe in a couple weeks. I don't know. We still got a schedule, but how do you feel about that being kind of like the big start of the revive with all the clips and shit that are gonna come out of it?
Yeah, I'm excited for a couple reasons. The first two reasons I would say would be as a developer, you get two things. One, it'll be nice to finally stress test the game, right? The last stress test we did of around 50 players, I would say generally held up. A few hiccups here and there, but like I said, I mean, I was at that one on a 6-year-old Mac with limited storage, and I was running 9 graphics and 80 ping, right? So like, how bad could the performance be at this point? But we haven't tested. It has been a year or so, probably more, since we've had 80 to 100 players in the game. So it'll be really interesting to see with all the new things we added how the game holds up. Um, like I said, I'm optimistic because it's holding up. It held up well for the last one, but this is going to be a lot of players, so it'll be interesting there. And then the other aspect is always as a developer, right? When you see people playing your game, it makes you happy, right? I love seeing people
Mhm.
enjoy and play the game that I created and brought to them. So that's the other reason as a developer. And then as a player, I mean, I would like to attend. And who doesn't like large scale battles,
Mhm.
right? I mean, we're going to have all the tactics, the different squads, and all that. So it should be a lot of fun.
Mhm. Also, want to ask about Second Ranger Battalion. I know you don't own it. I know Trigger owns it, and I know he's going in the army real soon. What do you think will be the fate of the Second Ranger Battalion and its legendary history in HOH?
I could talk to Spicer about it because I own it. Trigger just runs it.
Mhm.
So the history goes back before HOH. It goes all the way back to that one idea I was telling you
Yeah.
about. So it's probably from trying to remember maybe 2018 all the way back then. And it was the side division, the elite side division of the
Uh-huh.
First Infantry, right? Because we would focus typically on Normandy as that's one of 1ID's most famous battles,
Yeah.
which the Second Rangers were there for. So they were our side division. Then we brought them though when we made 1ID turn into HOH and made it public. We kept Second Rangers because we closed down 1ID, and all of the active members who wanted to stay with us for HOH were put into Second Rangers. So Second Rangers is actually just the remnants of my First Infantry Division. Trigger was an officer in my First Infantry Division.
Uh-huh.
Um, so I would probably have to talk to Spiso because, like I said, we wouldn't want to give that to someone else.
Yeah.
That's
No.
our history. Maybe I could run it because Spiso talked about maybe running an Axis faction.
Oh yeah.
So
Some like.
I could run one of the allied factions and he could run one of the Axis factions, something like that.
Uh.
We could figure it out though, but I think it'll stay in our hands or someone we know's hands. But it won't go away.
I'm gonna pass on to you. You can, choose one of the other questions that we haven't asked yet.
Yeah, I think we're done there.
We're done. Well, if there's anybody here, like Brady, Redacted, I can probably unmute you right now. If you have any questions before, I think we're getting like into the closing minutes of the podcast. Let me unmute you real quick. There we go, Redacted.
What do you guys act so far? Because I wasn't here for like the first half.
Probably a lot of questions. It's about the game, but if you have any personal questions or like just something you really want to ask, could be
Like,
related to you.
I mean, honestly, the only direction HOH has to go at this point is, like Prince said, getting its community back. That's kind of the number one priority. And how you do that, even with like the 16 plus restrictions, like I don't know how Prince is going to handle that. You can maybe run ads and stuff because you have to also get the 500 registered players. Yeah, but I don't really know how easy it will
I'm
be
curious.
with these new
I'm curious.
restrictions.
How did HOH get all those old members? You guys run ads or like recruiting servers? Like what you guys do? Like when
Uh,
first HOH was launched.
so we had some funds left over from the original First Infantry Division, and we used that to run Roblox ads at the time. Ironically, it was our last attempt. We tried to run it for like 3 or 4 weekends in a row. We would run it from like a Friday night into a Sunday. And you get some players, it would spike for a bit and then it would go away.
Mhm.
And then they would be dead during the week. And then you would try it again the next week. And then on our last attempt, when we had basically completely run out of funds, the game exploded. It got put into the Roblox algorithm because it was well beyond our ads. It started getting home recommendations as trending, and
Uh,
that's when it peaked. I mean, I believe it peaked at 270 players, something like that. Um, yeah, so we basically just got lucky through the algorithm and a combination of the algorithm and ads, and then once we had that, we also were creating factions at the time. Like they were brand new factions, right? We weren't recruiting
uh-huh.
new, or we weren't recruiting established factions. We were creating new factions of the existing player base, which kept they would recruit external members and bring them. So it was a combination, I'd say, of factions, ads, and algorithmic luck.
And do you expect to see like a boom like happen this upcoming summer, like it happened last summer in August, like late August? Do you expect that to happen again?
I don't know if expect is the right word, but I'm optimistic.
Mm-hmm.
It seems like a lot of people are kind of looking forward to our game. I mean, every time we post like anything on TikTok or anything like that, a lot of the comments will be like, "Oh wait, this game's alive again." Like people are the only reason that they stopped playing is because there wasn't that many players. And then we have the core player base wants to play and they keep playing the game now. So you really don't need to increase it by that much to start to get the game active, right? So I would say if you take third armored division and what the remnants of Lair, I forget what their faction's called now. That alone, right there, is a core group of 20 to 50 players, somewhere in that range, depending on how many people get on. If you take that and then you expand it just a little bit, you get a few public players here and there, you now have a somewhat active game, right? And then from there, people play that somewhat active game and they're no longer bored because they're not the only one in the server,
Mm-hmm.
right? Or it's not like a 2v2. And that from there, I think our game only gets better the more people are in it. Like I said, it's a meant to be a large scale game. So I'm optimistic that given that we already have a small but dedicated player base, combine that with some ads. We have Xerix and Redacted, and some people are making us videos
Yeah,
that are pretty high quality videos. Like I think through all the factors, I'm pretty optimistic we'll be able to pull it off.
and it should be the final minute, and I kind of want to let you have a crack at a question. Is there like any questions you want to ask the community, or just something to say before we end this?
I don't know if I have any questions. I mean, I feel like I run polls every week when I do have a question. Um, I guess all I would say is that just like thank you guys for sticking with us. I mean, I know it's been a complete up and down roller coaster, right? Like I said, super active, dead, active again, now we're dead and we're trying to revive again, right? So it's a roller coaster, but that core I was talking about a couple times here, like they've stuck with us and we really appreciate that. And we hope that you guys will continue to stick with us and that we will get a bunch of new players and that the new players will enjoy it as well and that we can bring a great game for everyone and we can all enjoy it and have fun.
And thank you. That was the ANH podcast episode 4. Stay tuned for more.
All right.
All right, should be